Well, good evening. Welcome to The Last Tackle. Back in the studio and alongside me, two absolute legends of the game, the voice of Super League for so long, Eddie Hemmings, and former England captain Adrian Morley. And gents, as ever when we sit down in this studio, plenty to get stuck into. We are going to start, Moz, with a story that at the time of recording, we've not had a statement from the club, we've not had any formal confirmation, but very, very strong reports in the last 24 hours that Steve McNamara has left Catalans Dragons. We don't know if that's of his own accord or if the club have done it, but he is no longer the Catalans Dragons head coach. We'll talk about how we've kind of got into that situation shortly, but let's just have a look at his time. He came in a season when they were on the brink of relegation, navigated them through that £1 million game process. Since then, they've been Betfred Challenge Cup winners, a League Leaders Shield, 2 grand finals. Moz, he's done one hell of a job.
Fantastic. He's left the club in a much better position now than they were when he did join the club, making these major finals, winning these major finals. I've worked quite a few times with Steve internationally. I played with him for Great Britain many moons ago, but worked with him as a coach, and I think he's a fantastic coach. He's a really deep thinker of the game. It's unfortunate what's happened, but you know, he's not the longest serving coach at any Super League club for no reason. He's a fantastic coach, fantastic guy. It's sad to see what's happened, if it has happened, but as I say, he can leave that job with his head held high, knowing he's done a fantastic job.
Eddie, Steve, I think, sort of oversaw the transition of Catalan Dragons from expansion club and a nice thing to have in Perpignan in the south of France, a good away day, into genuine contenders, genuine players in the silverware conversation year in, year out. And that's a difficult thing to do when you are a kind of satellite club like that.
Absolutely. I mean, he's been there 8 years. A coach once told me that you've got a lifeblood of about 6 or 7, unless your name is Wayne Bennett. And he has done a tremendous job. Not so much over the past 2 years, probably because of the big turnover in player personnel that he's had to cope with. I think it's a bit harsh that he's going, to be fair. Looking at his track record, he probably could have got them out of the situation that they're in now. And like Adrian, Jamie Peacock also came out and defended him before this news broke in the past 24 hours. You know, Jamie too played with him and worked with him as an international coach, and he said he's fantastic. He points out the huge turnover in players that he has had over the past 2 seasons, and he believed he had enough credit in the bank in the south of France to carry on. Now, I just wonder, because Steve McNamara a fortnight ago was being widely tipped to be the next Leeds Rhinos coach, if and when Brad Arthur decides to call it a day at Headingley. I wonder, at the back of my mind, whether that has got anything to do with this as well.
Interesting you mentioned that quote about the lifeblood of 5 or 6 years. The last 18 months does feel a little bit like just a coach and a squad getting to the end of a cycle, doesn't it? As happens in sport.
It does, but I spoke to him not long ago when they stayed over just down the road from here in Denton, not Denton, at the hotel out there with the golf course. He wasn't playing golf, by the way, and he was full of enthusiasm. You know, he was talking about the players. He was talking about the lads who have come through. Mickey McAlorum was at that time doing a great job for him, full of enthusiasm. There was no hint whatsoever that things were going wrong. I do feel sorry for him, I really do, but I'm sure deep down that another door will open very quickly.
We'll just talk about the result that appears to have sealed his fate, Miles, a 40-0 defeat to St Helens, and to be honest, that 80 minutes probably encapsulated a lot of what has gone wrong in the last 3 months and maybe, you know, a longer period than that.
Yeah, it was a big scoreline. I think it was a case of Saints being very good, but Catalans also being not very good as well. But I think it was a win that Saints needed. I think that could really turn their season around. It was a confidence boosting win, but Catalan Dragons were, you got to say, confidence was really low, and you know, a 40 points to 0 scoreline, don't matter if you're home or away, it does need addressing, and you know, if the club has done what we think they have done, it's not a huge surprise, but as I say, it could be great for the Saints. They've got a couple of games now, and then they've got a break for Wembley, but they've been you know, they've been competing well, and this could, few injured boys back, this could really give them a shot in the arm, and we could see the Saints have a great second half to the season.
Isn't it a funny old game? Because this time last week we were all speculating, I think, and thinking that the man who was on very thin ice was Paul Wellens.
That's right.
And again, he was being tipped to be axed if things went wrong against the Catalan Dragons. His players responded with the 40-0 victory. They're beginning again to unearth the great young players at St Helens. Look at this George Whitby, you know, 18 years of age, outstanding against Catalan. Hat-trick of tries, 6 from 7 goal attempts he was successful with. 18 years of age, as I say. You know, I hope that's bought Paul Wellens some time, because you know, why did if things go wrong for a period of 6-8 weeks, and there's no relegation for goodness sake anymore, people are still coming through the turnstile. Why do clubs pull the pin? Why is it always the coach that gets the bullet? You know, I've told Leigh Briers a number of times, stay as an assistant. You're not going to get sacked if you stay as an assistant coach, because they can't get rid of both of you.
Well, it's a funny thing, isn't it? Because every coach will tell you that the pressure comes with the job, the buck stops with them, they are the head coach. But you get that 3-month period at the beginning of the year to put your team together and work with them across pre-season. And then, other than breaks for the cup, if you've been knocked out, you then might get 5 days between a game, 6 days between a game. You wonder how much coaching actually gets done, and these days how much of it is about recovery and just getting people through the week. And we'll move on from Saints, because I think they're not out of the woods yet. Be interested to see what happens in the next couple of weeks. But I thought also on Friday, Wigan 38, Leigh 28. Just brilliant chaos, Eddie.
Absolutely, 12 tries in all, 7 of them to Wigan, and all different try scorers. 6 straight wins in the Championship now for the Wigan Warriors, but Matty Peet, I think, is a little bit concerned about the way that the pressure seems to come off late in games. Remember what happened in Vegas. They were absolutely cruising against Warrington in Las Vegas, and Warrington came back with some late tries. The same happened in the Magic against the same opposition, and again it's happened against the Leigh Leopards just last weekend. Now Matty has said he's a bit concerned. He says it might be just a mentality thing with his players. He can't really put his finger on it, but it's something he is aware of, and he doesn't want it repeating week after week. But I mean, it was, as you say, absolute chaos, a great game to watch as a neutral.
It was great, a strange game, but it was great to watch. You're right. So Wigan kept threatening to pull away. Leigh hung on in there, and they kept coming back. But was that man Bevan French? So he was the difference. He was class. When he. If he's not scoring him, he's setting him up, and he's a class above everyone else at the moment.
Well, it's the entertainment business, isn't it? And Bevan French is that word, isn't he? He's an entertainer.
Box office, he's the man.
I think it's a real shame on Friday that these two games coincided. I'm not sure which one you watched, Eddie, but when Ryan Hall in 2025 is still scoring winning tries in the corner at Henley for Leeds Rhinos, you'd be commentating from your armchair, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, listen, Ryan Hall is a class act, isn't he? He has been for so long. He's 37 years of age, you know.
And he's playing on again next year, did you know?
Is he? There's a chance for you, yeah, Mark.
Well, there's a chance for me, yeah.
But, you make a comeback.
Yeah,
but you don't play on the wing, that's the thing.
No, that's the thing.
But he's like a great red wine, isn't he? He gets better with years going by and better with age.
Wisdom and experience, but, you know, he uses his body really well. He's a big lad for a winger, but he used all his weight and his guile.
Unlike some Moz, I think he's looked after himself.
He has, yeah. But, you know, I've seen him score some tries that no one else in the world could have scored. He's class act, and he's world-class winger, and still doing the business for the Leeds Rhinos.
He could play anywhere, could he? The size of him, he could actually play second row.
Stick him in the second row,
He
definitely.
Really
yeah,
he's that kind of old-fashioned, almost kind of yardage winger, isn't he? He's given the ball and say, make some metres, he'll do it. Interesting insight I had into his kind of mentality a couple of weeks ago, actually. I was at the media event for Magic Weekend, and we were talking about the Try Celebration Challenge that Betfred put out to the players, £180 to the M&D Association for every kind of unique try celebration. I was talking to Cameron Smith. I said, who do you think at Leeds might have one up their sleeve? I said, what about Ryan Hall? He went, no, he won't celebrate. So it doesn't celebrate tries, it's his job. So it doesn't see him scoring tries as anything special. That's probably why he's got so many.
Yeah, no, he's a serious man off the field. I was actually with him at the weekend. I was at the Leeds Rhinos Skegness Challenge, and him and Mikolai were representing the Leeds Rhinos, so I had a good catch up with Harley. But no, he's all business, and that's his job to score tries. It's not his job to celebrate.
But people scratched their heads, didn't they, when Leeds signed him at 37?
Yeah.
You know, they really did, and he's paying them back in spades.
Yeah.
Terrific.
Moving on again, we're 11 rounds into the Betfred Super League season now. Hull KR have conceded 100 points, an average of 9.09 points a game, the lowest average ever across a season in the Super League era. 1998, Wigan Warriors 9.65. That was a 23-game season, so a little bit shorter. We'll see what Hull KR do across the year, but they're very, very impressive, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're not top of the Super League table, and in the Challenge Cup final. By fluke, they are playing particularly well, particularly at home. But this game, even though they won quite convincingly, there was only 4-0 up, after 60 minutes. So Huddersfield were dogged, but then to score, was it 28 unanswered points? Goes to show confidence is really high, and I think Mikey Lewis is one of the best players in the Super League, and he's shown that at the weekend, and he scored some tries that no one else could have scored, and they've got the big ones firing, and the teams are playing well, they're going to be there or thereabouts, I think, at the end of the season.
And the only threat to that average, I read today that they've done an offer where every clean sheet, every zero they keep, Eddie, they're giving free food out to the fans. So for the end of the season, if it's costing them a few quid, you might see Hull KR starting to leak a few points. But,
you cynic, Lewis, what a cynic you are. They're the real deal, believe me. Hull KR are the real deal this year. Joe Burgess, he's playing his way back into an England shirt, perhaps. But Mikey Lewis, of course, but they're not a one-man, two-man band. Dean Hadley, Jez Litton, what a job he's doing in the absence of Mickey McAlorum. Jared Warrior-Hargreaves, last season for him, he's got a two-match ban now, of course, so we won't be playing until Wembley. James Batchelor, Elliot Minchella, the list goes on. I haven't mentioned Petter Hiku yet. There's such a good all-round side, coached brilliantly by Willie Peters. And what a contrast in fortunes for them and the team they're going to meet at Wembley in 2 weeks' time just at the moment. Warrington going through the horrors with injury. 8 first-teamers out last weekend. God knows how many more will be out this weekend. And, of course, they play each other.
Yeah, we'll come on to that.
We'll come on to that later on.
Don't we, this week?
Yeah, the dress rehearsal without the dress, I think.
Just an interesting one. I'd like to get Mozzie's take on this, the Warrior-Hargreaves 2-game ban. Now, I read some stuff in the week that they were contemplating whether to appeal and try and get it reduced. And I was half of me was sitting there thinking, why? Just keep him fit, wrap him in bubble wrap for 2 weeks, go and have 2 weeks off, Jared, come back to Wembley and rip in. Yeah,
well, I must admit, when you do have a week or 2 weeks off, you do feel really fresh when you do come back. So I'm not advising all players to get banned on purpose or anything like that. However,
it was your tactic your whole career, really.
Exactly. Prolong my career. I got another year out of all the suspensions, but no, you're right. Why appeal when it could get extended actually? So just take it on the chin, and it'll be bad. But it's great for Big Jared. One of my favourite players and opponents. He gets to play in a Challenge Cup final in his one and only season over here. So I'm delighted for Jared. But at least he will be playing without the appeal.
Do you think that it's a good thing though that players don't play for a fortnight? I don't know if you said he'll come back fresh, but Warrington put their first team in wraps against Wigan the week before last year's final. They took them very, very close as reserves. They never showed up at Wembley. They didn't turn up.
It is really tough. I think players who have got injuries or fitness doubts, I think they should rest them. But you want a bit of keep your consistency going. You want your players to be match fit and to be battle hardened. So every time I played in a final, it wasn't an option really. We got told we were playing the week before, and we were all happy to do that. Or I was certainly happy to do that. So, but it is a fine line.
2 games on Sunday. We all know about the Salford situation, still ongoing, still not getting any better. But just focus on the Castleford side of that result. Eddie, Danny Maguire will breathe a lot easier after what was, okay, you have to beat what's in front of you. Not a great Salford side, but you do have to beat what's in front of you. And it was a better showing from Cass.
Of course it was, yes. And I don't think we should take anything away from the very first signing that the new owner of Castleford, Mr. Jepson, has made, and that is Chris Chester. Chris Chester's gone in there as director of rugby. Look what he did at Leigh over the 2 or 3 seasons that he was there. He developed with Adrian Lamb and Derek a Leigh team into a real challenger for the honours. And I think he's going to do the same again at Castleford. But Tex Hoy, you know, he was the star of the show against poor old Salford, hat-trick of tries. But, you know, all the news about that match and about every time Salford play, it's about what's going on in the periphery. I mean, we hear now that the Salford Council have pulled out of any negotiations with the new owners about the sale of the ground, and the new owners allegedly, that's all they're interested in, the sale of the ground and the land around it. I mean, what's going to happen to Salford, Adrian? It must be causing you sleepless nights. I mean, this is your club.
It is. It's terrible. It's soap opera, and it's you know, these new owners, I don't know what's going on with them. They promised the earth and they've not delivered anything. So, but the club is losing players. It's losing games, and it's just on a downward spiral. So it's it's just a terrible situation. I don't know how or where it's going to end, but
well, it might all end in tears, because I've read somewhere that HMRC have issued a winding up order against them because Salford owe income tax as well.
I think this is the problem.
It's horrendous
with a lot of it, isn't it? Is that we're all just reading these things, and no one's actually come out and said, in black and white, this is the situation. From the club, this is the situation. This is what's happened. This is what we're facing. And we don't know. It is a topic that we could sit here and do a whole show on. I think it's going to be like the JFK files one day. It'll all come out.
Well, we'll
find out what's really been going on. But just moving on to the last game of the weekend, Miles, very quickly on Warrington. I know you'd have watched this game with a bit of a grimace. Wakefield, though, real statement.
Yes, they're playing fantastically well. You know, there weren't a great deal in it. You know, Warrington got back to, I think it was 18-12, but then but they ran away with it, Wakefield. But it is a bit of a worry for Warrington when they're trying to get a little bit of form together for what's going to be a huge couple of weeks with the Challenge Cup final coming up. And we've mentioned the injury list, not getting any easier for Warrington. So it's tough at the moment, but. You know, they are in the final, so at least they're going to go down there and give it the best shot. But they've got a couple of games to try and get a bit of form before that final. But yeah, it is. When you're getting 40 put on you against Wakey away, signs are not looking very good.
Wakefield are doing really well, aren't they, under Darryl Powell? And I would imagine that the Warrington games for Darryl Powell are ones where he's got a big red ring around because of what happened to him at the Halliwell Jones. But you have to say that they are playing really, really well. Warrington, as we say, they're patched up at the moment. They've got 8 first-teamers out. I mean, without Josh Shoeless, Toby King, Matty Ashton, George Williams, Leon Hayes, Danny Walker, Lachlan Fitzgibbon, I'm running out of breath, and Zane Musgrove. I mean, any club would struggle losing players of that quality, and I just wonder how it's going to pan out for them at Wembley. George Williams should be back, we're told. Maybe, perhaps.
Right.
But if I hope it's not going to be a one-horse race in the Betfred Challenge Cup final.
With the exception of a few, cup finals tend to be a bit more of there's a leveller factor, isn't there? It'd be interesting what happens to the players coming back. And you spoke about the situation at Salford and the takeover or non-takeover. Is there some good news coming out of London today in the last few hours? Gary Hetherington, who's now involved with the London Broncos, has announced a 5-year plan. It's going to be complete redevelopment of the club, a new brand, a new name. They've got a new strategic partner in from Australia. He's looking to develop a new group of owners. We've had plenty of false dawns with London Rugby League over the years, but Gary Hetherington knows what he's doing, absolutely no doubt. And at a time when today as well, they've said that they're well on course to sell somewhere between 65, maybe 75,000 seats for that first Ashes test. We could be, hopefully, at the beginning of a real resurgence for the game in the South, Eddie.
We've been told by IMG, when they first got involved, that London is key. London is key to the expansion of the game. The first thing to do is to make sure that London are going to be relegated at the end of that last season. So they're struggling now in the Championship. Gary Hetherington is a man who makes things happen. Look what he did at Leeds. Look what he's done at Leeds over the years. And he's got this Australian organisation involved with him. He's planning a 5-year strategy that will get them back into Super League. Allegedly, they're not going to be wandering all around London and playing at different venues. They're going to stay at Wimbledon, which is good news. Again, because they went down, they've lost all their star players as well. So it's a huge job for Gary at his time of life. But he's a director of the club now. And we have always said, that we, the Royal We, Steve-O and I always said, why doesn't Gary Hetherington run the game? Well, he was happy and very secure at Leeds Rhinos. That's why. And look at the legacy he has left at Headingley. Fantastic. But if anyone can in London, hopefully, fingers crossed, Gary Hetherington can.
Yeah, it could be massive, couldn't it? Let's get stuck into round 12 then of the Betfred Super League. We'll have a look at the menu. It starts off with two teams, Moz, looking to bounce back from defeat. Leigh Leopards, who certainly went down swinging last week against a Hull FC team that I think we all maybe got a little bit excited a few weeks ago and it looked like they were going to be right up there. I still think they may well be, but they have just hit a little bit of a dip.
Yeah, they have, but even in both their defeats, they can take a little bit of credit from the manner in which they both got beat. So I just think home advantage for Leigh will be key this time, and I think they'll be too strong for Hull. But Hull have been, compared to last season, they've been dramatically improved, haven't they, under my old mate Johnny Cartwright. So I think it'll be a close game, but I think Leigh will just have this one.
Prediction, Eddie?
Well, we all thought when John Cartwright came in that Hull would be a different team. He would have them. He would have them fit, and B, he would get a few players in, and they have impressed this year. Leigh at home, though, it's an interesting one. I think it's going to be very, very close. I hope it is, and because of home advantage, I will take Leigh.
Huddersfield Giants got off the mark for the season a couple of weeks ago. Great place to do it as well, Magic Weekend. They win number 2 against St Helens, but a St Helens team, Moz, that will have all the wind in their sails.
Yeah, they will. I'm sure that win did wonders for their confidence, and they are getting a few bodies back now. And I can see Saints going on a bit of a run now. I think they're going to hit a little bit of form. And Huddersfield, even though they are off the market, they have had one win. Confidence is really low, and they've still got a lot of injuries there at the Giants. So I'm going to go with the Saints. I think they're going to win quite convincingly.
Big night for Saints to back up what they did last week.
Big night for St Helens, it is. They were obviously angry about the Magic Weekend and everything else, and the way that they went down so badly. Then the fans turned against them a bit, but they got them back on side last weekend with the great win against Catalans. Huddersfield, as Adrian said earlier on, they were dogged last weekend against Hull KR. Only 4-0 down. They defended for their lives for an hour, but then he'll tell you better than me because he's been out there and playing. I wouldn't know, but apparently you defend for an hour and eventually your legs drop off, particularly in the heat that they had last week. Yeah. And Hull KR just ran away with it. Poor old Luke Robinson. He came on the telly afterwards and he gave his interview and his thoughts after the match, and he said he told them, let's get a good start to the second half, and the first thing they did was drop the ball. That doesn't help. And he, again, the poor old little Luke Robinson, as we always used to call him. He's got his back against the wall, but I can't see anything other than a St Helens win in this one. Cannot see it.
Possibly the most interesting game of the weekend for a lot of reasons. A Challenge Cup final dress rehearsal, Eddie. Warrington against Hull KR, and there's so many storylines to go at here. What happens?
I think both sides will rest a few stars, and both sides will say the few of the injured stars will not be coming back. It always happens, doesn't it? If you play a week or two before Wembley and you play your opposition, you don't want to give anything away. The thing is, Sam Burgess needs to get Warrington back on the horse a bit after the last couple of weeks. I said it's a dress rehearsal without the dress earlier on. It could be Warrington A team against Hull KR's A team. I hope not, for the sake of the competition, because that's no good to anybody. But I don't think we'll be able to read too much into this result about what's going to happen at Wembley. I really don't. I think it might be, keep your cards close to your chest and wait for the big day.
Moz, with your Warrington hat on, 2 competition points very, very important, even with that Wembley arch in the distance.
Yeah, very important. And having a disappointing loss last week, I think Sam's going to go for it. He's going to go for the win, go for the 2 points. I don't think he'll be resting many players. The players who are fit, I think they'll want to play. I think it'll be a full-blooded Super League encounter. 2 points are vital, and I think Hull KR are going to go. They're going to try and keep their momentum going as well. So I think it'll be a fully fledged contest. I just think Hull KR, they've a little bit more confidence and probably the opposite for Warrington. I think Hull KR will get the win, but I think it'll be a close one.
I think Hull KR are sniffing blood here. I do.
Cass versus Leeds was very quickly on this one. 2 teams coming into it, both off the back of wins. What do you reckon?
I think Leeds. I just think the way they've been going this year, they've been they've still been inconsistent, but the wins they have had, I thought they looked very, very good. And Castleford, they've only had a couple of wins this year, and I just think confidence is still not huge there at Castleford. I just think Leeds are going to be too strong for them.
Catalans, Wigan, Eddie, as we've said at the time of recording, no official statement, but we believe the start of the post-McNamara era for Catalans. At home will help, playing the champions probably won't. We see the bounce when teams change hands instead of coaching. What happens in the south of France?
Well, Joel Tompkins apparently is going to be taking over as caretaker coach at the Catalan Dragons, so he's got incentive there, hasn't he, against one of his former clubs. I remember the Catalan-Wigan game when Catalan first came into the Super League 2006. That was quite an occasion, and the Catalan, I think they did the trick. It's going to be fascinating to see. I mean, you would expect a response from the players at Catalan because they've got the new coach, and who knows who the next coach is going to be, and he might be watching the pictures coming in from the south of France. Trent Robinson's name has now been mentioned. Paul Rowley's name has been mentioned, and Sylvain Hules, who used to play for the Catalan Dragons, he's in the frame allegedly to take over from Steve McNamara. So it's a huge transition for the Dragons, but you would expect Wigan, with this run of form that they're on, did I say before, six straight wins on the bounce, you'd expect Wigan to go down there to the south of France and come back with the win.
Rounded off the weekend, Moz, the Salford struggles, as we've mentioned, continue. But let's talk about Wakefield as they look to kind of follow their trajectory towards the top 4 and just put a little bit of a run together in what is quite an important little section of the season, this.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned it. Wakefield are going fantastically well. It's the town is actually buzzing. New stadium. They've been selling out a lot of the home games as well. But the form on the pitch has been sensational. So I think they will beat Salford. We've mentioned the struggle Salford are going through. So I think it'll be another win, and unfortunately for Salford, another big score against them, I think.
Gents, as ever, I sit here at the end of this and think we could probably do another half an hour. There's just so many storylines coming up. We have hit that point of the season, haven't we, where just things are happening. Some teams are in good form, some teams are struggling. There's coaches starting to move around. It's an interesting time, but we have run out of time this evening. A pleasure, as always, to have you with us. I know we'll be back next week with more. Just very, very quickly, Moz, which game are you looking forward to most this weekend?
When I was playing at Leeds, I always used to love the Leeds and Cass. Cass always had a chip on the shoulder about Leeds, the big city club and all that. So I think it'll be a close game. So I'm looking forward to Leeds Cass.
Yeah, that should be a cracker, because there is always that close needle and rivalry between Castleford and the Leeds Rhinos. They like to sort out the big city boys down at Weldon Road. And the Chris Chester, I keep coming back to it, the Chris Chester factor. Who knows? Who knows? And Danny, of course, would like nothing better than to get one against his former club. That should be a cracker. I'm fascinated about what's going to happen at Warrington. I really am. Warrington, Hull, Kingston Rovers. Let's wait and see what happens there. Listen, we can watch them all on Sky Sports Plus, can't we? And Sky and Super League Plus. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at all 6 games this weekend.
Yeah, it should be another belter. Gents, thank you for joining us. We get ever closer to Wembley, but of course, 2 more rounds in the Betfred Super League before we get to that point. We're with you every step of the way, of course, here on The Sportsman. We'll see you next week.
This is my time.